Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining another to the space. We have so much to cover today. Some interesting announcements, some updates, some people that have joined the community, and you might know. But let's start with just really quick intros because we do that every month. But for the people that have recently joined the community, I'm sure they'll be beneficial. So, Gonzalo, let's start with you this time. Give us the TODR.
Hey guys, on Combat Fire, also known as Gonzalo. I'm Zano's community manager.
Nice. Quinton, can you go next?
Of course. Hey guys, I'm Quinton, also known as Mr. Quibs. I'm from the Zano account today, and I am the head of marketing at Zano.
Alexei, the man of the hour.
Who?
Oh.
You mean Andre?
Andre, sorry. Yeah, oh, it is. I don't know why I say Alexei. Sorry, Andre. It's just
I was wondering.
I just the brain dump there.
Okay, I'm Andre. I'm founder of Zano.
Quinton, thank you so much. The funniest part is that when you say who, I was like, oh my days. What was his name actually? Sorry, Andre.
No worries, man. These things happen.
Seth, can you introduce yourself as well? You're the special guest today.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I am Seth for Privacy. Been in the space for a while, really just focused on freedom tech, privacy, Bitcoin, Monero, all that good stuff. And I recently joined Cake as vice president. I joined in September, so going on 6 months there, and been an absolutely fantastic time. So excited to chat with you all today.
Thanks for the introductions, guys. And the first thing that we would like to talk about is the big milestone that we reached this month, and that's the 3rd million block on Zano. And we run an interesting campaign around it. So, Gonzalo, do you want to tell us a bit about it and why that's so important and why it's a big milestone for us?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, reaching 3 million blocks just shows like Zano has been going smoothly for all these years. Fortunately. But yeah, I mean, we just wanted to take that as an opportunity to engage with the community a bit. We ran some like quizzes. We invited people to share their story, how they met Zano, and just try to bond with our community more. And it was fun.
And another very significant announcement and a milestone that we reached as a community is on the 15th of Jan, we had over 6,000 transactions, and it was a new all-time high, which is a good indicator of a higher demand for privacy. And I think that's something that we'll be seeing a lot more. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and everyone now is talking about privacy. Even the guys at ZanoX talked about privacy coins and why they will be gaining popularity. But Quinton, can you give me your take on why do you think we're seeing this increased demand for privacy?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's just a nice milestone to mention, right? 6,400 transactions on a single day. I would say it ain't much, but it's honest work. I mean, it's not a lot, right? Hey, but it's an all-time high for Zano in terms of transaction throughput. So that's great. It's great to see. I think people are just exploring confidential assets a bit and playing around with it and testing some things out. So as we will see more confidential assets launched on Zano, those all contribute to the daily transaction amount as well. So that's probably the reason for it. I mean, yeah, that's all I can say about it, honestly.
And we've also seen some growth within the ecosystem. And a good example of it is that a community member recently launched ZanoMap. And it's essentially showing businesses that accept Zano as a payment option on the map. And Quinton, again, could you tell me a bit more about it, the initiative, and why that's important? But also, could you talk about the businesses that accept Zano and the benefits of it?
Yeah, so there's this guy in the community. I don't even know his real name. I know that his name on Twitter is, I believe, Zanoshi Zanhamoto. And this guy has been tweeting about Zano on a daily basis, and he launched a website called ZanoMap.com, I believe. Yes, ZanoMap.com. And there's just a few businesses on there right now. A few in the Netherlands, few in Belgium. There's the one in Mallorca, that's the Jiu-Jitsu school in Palma, I believe. That one's accepting Zano as well. It's just, I mean, there's not much on the map right now, but hopefully we'll see, 50 to 100 businesses there at the end of the year. At this moment, we only have Coin Remitter as a payment processor for Zano. So this allows people to accept Zano for their e-commerce websites, which is great, of course. But there are a couple more on the way that are more user-friendly. For example, Now Payments is really, really nice one to use. They're waiting for Change Now, which is like also one of their companies to finish the Zano integration. And then as soon as that has happened, Now Payments will list Zano as well. And this is just a great way for adoption. Like it gives some extra use case to Zano. And the great thing about Now Payments is that you can, for example, click to accept Zano for your business, but then Now Payments automatically converts it to any other currency that you have selected. So, for example, USDT, BTC, or even fiat or Monero. So this makes it really, user friendly for the merchant as well, and for the person that is buying the goods and services. So that's cool. I also know Exolix is working on their own payment processor. They said it was expected like halfway through 2025. So I mean, still have to give them some time. But yeah, these things are really cool for Zano and contribute to the adoption, obviously.
And earlier on, you mentioned that one BJJ school in, did you say Poland, accept Zano?
No, in Mallorca. I believe it's
Mallorca.
The school where Roger Ver goes. I think he has to do with that. I mean, he must have. Like he's he's very big into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I just assumed that he probably made them accept Zano there, which is really cool.
Yeah, he's a brown belt, which is amazing. I
Black, actually.
Black?
He got black belt recently. Yep.
Oh wow. Okay. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. But talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Mikey, I've been struggling to pronounce his last name, but someone will hopefully correct me. I pronounce it Musumechi, but it's probably not right. But he's a very famous Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athlete and grappler and 4 times world champion. Now promotes Zano. And it's a big thing for us because now well-known people appreciate the power of privacy. And I would love to hear everyone's take, actually, probably starting from Gonzalo, on why that's important and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was all right. It's a surprise. I didn't expect it. But yeah, I mean, it's good to like see Zano and privacy in general being more talked about in mainstream media, like especially with Roger's interview with Tucker Carlson. I think just just getting it out there, getting people to talk about it. Like for now, like I think most world knows about Bitcoin, but it's one thing to know about, okay, Bitcoin goes up or speculation or whatever, and another different thing to actually get to know, okay, Bitcoin was supposed to be digital cash, right? Okay, so what functions as digital cash, or what like actually is useful for people's lives? And so I just love like it being talked about more. it's great.
Quentin, is there anything that you would like to add?
I mean, it just takes some balls, right? As a person that is quite famous to just be open about that you support privacy focused cryptocurrencies. I mean, that's I respect that
For sure.
Yeah, definitely agree with it. And he's so good. I actually did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for over a year. And the guy is famous for eating pizza, pasta, and ice cream and being one of the best athletes in the world, which is insane.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
That's what he's known for, his ridiculous diet. But he trains so much, he would spend hours on the mat, and he's very technical, very flexible, a really good athlete. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. We also have a new ambassador for Zano in the Portuguese community, and
Yep.
this is very good because now we're trying to establish small communities over Europe and the world. So Gonzalo, could you tell me more about it?
Yeah, so he's actually the Brazilian ambassador, um, and then yeah, he's got quite the experience. He's worked in marketing for quite a few years. So yeah, I mean, he represented me some plans. I'm waiting on some stuff, but yeah, it's good to just like expand our reach on the Spanish community. Actually, we're also doing progress. It's always slow at first, but yeah, I just like to see Zano being out there. Like I was, actually the other day I went to programming meetup. It was a game jam, right? And I went with a Monero T-shirt, and I actually got recognized. I was very surprised. Like in the English communities, like it's I guess it's more normal, but I never seen that in the Spanish community. So I mean, the day someone recognizes my Santa T-shirt, I mean, it's gonna be crazy. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I love that. And can you tell us a bit more about the sentiment among the Spanish speaking community? Because I personally speak English and Bulgarian. So I would love to hear your perspective on what the community thinks, but also what's their overall view on crypto.
I think it's tricky because like I'm talking about both Spanish and Brazilian, like just like Hispanic. Um, it's weird because people are very like reluctant to privacy. Like they don't want to talk about it, but they are the ones that use most cash. And like everyone just expects privacy. It's just something that they don't talk about openly, but they use it. Like crypto is super popular in South America, so it's a bit tricky. Like I had talks with this with the Latam ambassadors, and yeah, it's tricky to talk about it, but like it's just as if it was there, right? Like just everyone wants to use it, or they expect it at least. It's just that they are not too open about it. So it's great that it's being pushed more into the mainstream, and it just becomes like normal because it is normal.
Thanks for that. And Quinton, I would love to hear your take on the community run and Zano on the instant swap platform ZanoX. And can you tell us a bit more about the recent upgrades that Zano has done? But before you do that, can you just explain what's ZanoX and what's its function?
Yeah, sure. Let me add something real quick on the previous subject, like because we were talking about ambassadors, and since Zano is still growing, and we still have welcome new community members every day. If you happen to know a little bit about Zano and you would like to get involved, please reach out to us. Can be via Telegram, Matrix, or Discord, or even Reddit, or even Twitter DM. Um, because we're still looking for local ambassadors. You know, it's just good to have people that speak native languages all over the world, and have them represent Zano at conferences and manage the local communities. I see Zano Turkey is here. I see Lil King is here. He's from Zano Africa. So I see Mr. Pinkman is here. He's from Zano France. So you can work with all of these guys, and they've been doing a great job. So shout out to them. Then on to ZanoX. Just wanted to point out that that's not something from Zano itself. I mean, the name is maybe a bit confusing. Maybe just should change it. But we had this guy on the previous Inside the Zanoverse episode, actually last month, and this is also a community member, and he launched ZanoX.org. Is this correct? Someone help me out.
.io, I think.
Oh, .io. Yes, that's right. Essentially, this is just like a swap platform, instant swap platform that you can use to swap over 1,000 cryptocurrencies to Zano, to and from Zano now. I think he just plugs into APIs of exchanges, trying to get the best rates for people without any QIC. So that's pretty cool. And he sent me an update that he improved his platform recently, since the last episode that we did with him. Saying that he improved his user interface. He now has he also improved the ZanoX AI chat assistant, trained on everything Zano. So that's pretty cool. You can even if you don't want to swap, you can just go there and ask this AI chat assistant any question about Zano. I think it's plugged into the introduction guide and maybe also the documentation in the website. So that's cool. And they added the sell Zano functionality. So first you could only buy, now you can also sell. So you can go back and forth from the Zano ecosystem. So just yet another swap platform, but then just Zano dedicated, which is really cool. I just love it when community members, put some effort in and actually create and contribute stuff to the Zano ecosystem. So yeah, big props to him.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just to add something, anything, as always, anything that's AI generated, just take it with a pinch of salt, because, hallucinations happen.
Point.
It's not perfect. So always feel free to get to the documentation directly, or just ask us on Discord and Telegram, just to make sure.
Thanks for that, team. Thanks for clarifying. And next, we're moving to the technical developers. And I would love to hear Andre's take on the consensus review. And I know that you're working closely with Common Prefix on the consensus upgrade. So could you give us the latest update and what are the next steps? And how has it developed since the last time that we had this conversation?
We've been working together with Common Prefix. We had I think we had 5 calls dedicated to explaining different parts of consensus, because it turned out that the project actually have a lot of unique components, which was quite surprising for researchers who was working on this, and they had a lot of questions. So as I was mentioning previously, that I wrote for them 2 versions of pseudocode that describe how consensus works, both proof of work and proof of stake, and how they bind it together, which is most complicated and most tricky part, as well as the most dangerous part in terms of potential problems. And after I provided this pseudocode that implements the current version that we use right now in Zano, and the second version that implements potential improvement that we propose, we had to have a few calls. I think it was 5 calls with researchers, and I had to explain different parts, why we did this way, how exactly it works, and that was quite, I would say, I need to refresh it even myself because some parts was even created like ages ago. We touched the things that was created like really ages ago, and there was even one interesting moment that we touched formula for a difficulty adjustment algorithm, and I don't know, it's it's a little bit of irony because they asked me why we are adding. There was a cumulative difficulty, and there we're adding some um, timestamp. I guess we added timestamp to this, which was weird, and I couldn't remember why we were doing this in this formula. And I even contacted our regional team, including Nicholas Saberhofen, if he remembers why we doing this formula exactly this way. And it turned out that nobody actually remember because it doesn't make much sense. And that's why Bernarda and Leoba, the researchers who we work with, asked me why we're doing this way. And it turned out that um, nobody actually knows why we have this formula. And I was wondering, I haven't went to Monero codebase and see if they still use the same formula. They still use the same formula. So it's something that is, I mean, it's probably made by mistake, but it doesn't make much of influence on resulting because the difficulty numbers are way bigger than the timestamps, and nobody actually knows exactly why it works this way. And I think it was a mistake that exists forever there, and nobody knows why it's there, but it's like historical artifact. So I had to say to them, hey guys, I checked it with everyone. I reached out the team that was we were working together 10 years ago, and turned out that nobody actually knows why this formula works this way. And that was something actually I had to say that like we don't know why, which is kind of, it's like I wouldn't want to say this, but I had to. So yeah, but beside this, everything else was covered, and we with this series of calls we covered pretty much everything. I just reached out to them today a few hours ago and asked it how's it going, and they told me that that's pretty much clear right now, and they are working on detailed protocol description in the formal language so they can analyze the security of the protocol and security of improved proposal. So that's the current status of this. So the long story short, the work in progress still, but we covered everything and they confirmed it. So now they have everything, all information that they wanted.
And just to be clear here, because this is about consensus improvement review that you just talked about. Can you just briefly mention what the direct result of the consensus upgrade could be? I know that there's multiple options, but that's why I'm saying could.
Direct result of review or consensus upgrade?
Just consensus upgrade specifically.
Well, the price of double spent attack will be insanely higher. So it will give us like very unique and quite strong security comparable to pure proof of stake projects. For example, PBFT consensus is very strong, and we will be really close to these numbers, which is like totally great. I wanted this like since the very inception of Zana. I wanted to have a proof of I want to have a consensus as Zana as strong as proof of stake is. So that's the goal. So I believe I don't want to be ahead of things because it's not confirmed to be secure. It's not confirmed to be like something that we are actually upgrading to. But if it will be confirmed, that's gonna be like a really big thing for us for project, and we'll be in a very safe zone in terms of double spend attack. I mean, if we would, for example, if we would be on the panel with some proof of work project, and then we will be comparing the cost of attack, we can we can like literally show off with absolutely crazy numbers of cost of double spend attack on Zana. So that's what's gonna be after if this proposal is gonna be as good as I hope.
And could you also give us a bit more information on the timeline? When are you hoping to complete it? And I know that you're still doing the review, but if you just can give us an approximate date.
Well, actually, the good part of this that actual implementation of this upgrade is not it's not very hard. It's quite a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks of work. Actually, it's gonna be a few days of actual implementation, and then we'll spend 2 weeks on writing some core tests that will cover different situations. But the most time-consuming part would be likely if there will be some questions or it's going to be some issues found, we will be having another iteration with a common prefix to see if we can fix it. So if they finish it, for example, in 2 weeks, which quite doable estimate, if they formalize everything and come to us with a good news, like, hey guys, we found nothing. I mean, we found no problem. Here is your formal proofs that prove that not only opinion that we think that's secure and that we actually couldn't find any problem, but they can actually prove that the protocol is safe, or they can prove that it's not safe, which is also can happen. So so it's gonna be 2 weeks that review will be finished, and then it's gonna be 1 month, I think, for total implementation and rolling up the hard fork. Yeah, it depends. So
Thank
2
you.
months, 2 months. Yep.
Yeah, assuming everything goes like correctly,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you could go like, back to the drawing board. Like, I think we're being like very optimistic here, but I guess it's safe to say that it's near. Like, it's not that far away.
I really hope so. I really hope.
Thanks for this update, team. And the developers also continue to work on the integrated browser implementation for the mobile wallet. So could you give us the latest there as well?
Yeah, that's really quick. We actually have a version in a test flight already that support the browser. We recently fixed a few bugs, also related to UI, but we saw working version, and I hope it's gonna be out really soon, maybe in a few, I don't know, maybe a few weeks or so. But it's really cool. So, and I think we will be able to publish public beta like in a week or 2 weeks. So that's pretty much close.
Thanks. And what's the latest on the remote node support?
Remote node came with more UI work that we expected. It's we're still polishing stuff there. It's mostly front end and mostly front end polishing, and we are preparing release that will be on this week. Hopefully it will not include remote node because there is some things that is not shining yet. So I believe remote node will be included in the next release that will happen after the one that will happen on this week.
And actually, sorry, can we take a step back and explain what's a remote node support? Because some people might not be aware of the term.
Remote node is basically there is a full node when Zano installed desktop application. It actually nothing but a full node, which synchronize the blockchain itself, and then it synchronize wallets really quick with a local full node. Remote node, it's some that's the way that mobile wallet actually works, that you use as a full node just some remote server, which is pretty much self-explanatory, that it just uses the server that hosts somewhere. It gives you little bit less privacy, but it gives you more usability because you don't have to wait until the blockchain got synchronized. So that's pretty much it.
And
I see
just
Seth is raising his hand. Are you there, Seth?
Yeah. If you don't mind, I was just going to throw a little more.
Oh, yeah,
context on
absolutely.
the remote
Thanks.
node idea. Yeah. So for anyone who has used Monero, this is just the common expectation when using a Monero wallet, except for Monero GUI. I think that's the only wallet right now that would actually download the blockchain itself and then verify the blocks and the transactions within them. But when you're using a mobile wallet with a remote node in the Monero ecosystem, which would include Zano, it's actually really nice because it's almost fully privacy preserving. You do obviously still reveal whatever your visible IP address is. So if you're behind Tor or VPN, that's probably not a problem. If you're not behind either of those, it will reveal that IP address, but it doesn't reveal any information about your transactions to that remote node, which is a big, big difference compared to using something like Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, where the standard model is you essentially just send your addresses to a remote server, and that remote server sends you back the balance and transactions of those addresses. So it's much less of a problem or risk within Monero, Zano, et cetera, to use a remote node. And as mentioned, it just really helps with the usability. So like if you use Zano and Cake, you are using a remote node. By default, you're using our remote node that I spun up for our users, but that doesn't reveal any information to us about your transactions, about the amounts, about who they're going to, where they're coming from, nothing like that. That's the beauty of privacy by default, is that all of that privacy happens locally on your device, so that the only thing that we would see is a transaction ID and your IP address. Obviously, we're not logging that. We have a commitment to not log that. But if you need even greater privacy assurances, you can always run your own node, connect to it in Cake. You can do that today. Or you can run the current Zano GUI, which I believe is also runs its own full node locally, as y'all were mentioning. So good options out there, but thankfully remote nodes within the Monero Zano ecosystem are a really good privacy preserving choice as opposed to the Bitcoin ecosystem.
And Seth, I just have a question. When you say by default, you have a remote nodes, and that's the way that you ensure that your transactions are private? Or can you just elaborate on the by default part?
So I guess I mentioned by default in two different ways. One was the privacy in Zano is by default. So you have good sender, receiver, and amount protections, just like in Monero, because it's based off Monero. And that all that, you could call it encryption. It's definitely an oversimplification, but all that encryption, quote unquote, happens locally on your device. You don't reveal any of the info about the transactions you've made previously or the transaction you're making now to the remote node that you're using. The other time I referenced by default was just that within Cake, we pick a single node to connect to by default, and that's our node infrastructure for Zano. I spun up the nodes. They've been working quite well so far. But there's also another default node in there that you can switch to if you want, which I believe is the one that's run by the Zano team itself. Or you can add your own node if you spin up a Zano node yourself. So there's lots of options there. But yeah, those are the two ways that I was mentioning by default.
Thanks for clarifying that. And Andre, could you just give us the latest update on Zano Trade? And I know that the team worked on the user experience and had made some improvements.
Can you hear us, Andre?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute my microphone. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking with Pavel about Pavel, who is not here today, about Zano Trade, and he said that there's ongoing work mostly on improving user experience and UI on Zano Trade. And I don't have anything else to say about this actually, because I not handling this part, so only this very short update on this part.
I can add something there because Pavel showed me the new design. So the goal was so as Zano Trade users probably know, it's still in beta version and it's a bit clunky to use. Sometimes it's not as intuitive as it should be when you are handling an app. So Pavel decided, he acknowledged this, and he decided to basically recreate an entire user interface of Zano Trade, making it looking way more like a DEX, with like trying to mimic like a bit of an order book, which is not, it's kind of impossible to have an order book on Zano Trade because it's based on ionic swaps. So all the offers there are peer-to-peer trading offers. There's no liquidity pools or anything. But it is a gigantic improvement. I've seen it, the user interface, and it looks really nice, really smooth. So I'm hoping this will make it a lot more easier to use. So that's very exciting.
Thanks for that. Thanks for everyone's input. In the next segment, I would like to focus on Cake Wallet and the recent integration. So Seth, can you just give us a quick introduction again for anyone that has recently joined the space?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cake Wallet, for anyone who's not familiar, we've been around since 2018. Vic started the company. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here today. I was hoping he'd be able to jump on, but he started the company back in 2018 because he saw how problematic the lack of privacy in Bitcoin was firsthand, and wanted to make sure that Monero itself, which back in 2018 especially was the only privacy preserving alternative, he wanted to make sure that it was accessible to people. And at that time, there was no iOS wallet at all for Monero, so Apple users absolutely couldn't use Monero on the go, which was a big shortcoming. So we kicked off the company then, Monero being the center of everything that Cake did for a few years. But since then, we've rapidly grown to become a multi-cryptocurrency wallet. Obviously, we have Zano and Cake Wallet as well. The other big focuses for us are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, which we put a lot of work into privacy preserving tools on top of Bitcoin and Litecoin, because obviously they're not privacy preserving by default, unlike Monero and Zano. But everything that we do at Cake, we want to have privacy at the center of it. It's really core to our ethos. So we make sure that even when we're integrating chains that don't have default privacy, we try to provide the best privacy possible. But the broad goal of Cake is to enable people to use freedom money to free themselves. So that looks like obviously holding your own keys. So Cake is self-custodial only. We never have custody of funds, have no ability to see any information about what funds people custody. That looks like making it really simple to run and use your own node across cryptocurrencies. So in all the cryptocurrencies that we have, you can connect to your own node if you so wish. That looks like having Tor support. Right now, it's a little bit hacky, but we have native Tor integration coming soon within Cake. And that also looks like giving people access to the broader Cake ecosystem. So Cake Wallet, obviously self-custody, good privacy features. But we also have Cake Pay, which helps you to actually use your cryptocurrency to pay in-store, to pay real-world merchants using gift cards or debit cards. And then we're quickly branching out as well to grow that Cake Pay ecosystem, working on adding some more good cards in the future. And I think in a release coming soon, you should be able to pay for Cake Pay gift cards using Zano directly in Cake Wallet. You can't right now, but you're going to be able to do so through Trocador soon. But in the meantime, you can actually use it on the website itself, just cakepay.com. So that's a quick summary. Ultimately, just trying to provide privacy tech and freedom money into the hands of as many people as possible.
Man, that's very exciting. I know a lot of people that would love to buy gift cards with Zano. Probably specifically Aaron Day. This guy lives on crypto entirely, and he's a big user of gift cards. So he will definitely love you guys for the fact of adding Zano there for the gift cards.
Yeah, that definitely sounds interesting. And I'll be using it for sure. The gift cards feature. And Seth, could you tell me a bit more about the idea of connecting your own nodes? And I know that it's probably for people that are slightly more technical, but could you tell us the benefits of it, but also how challenging is it for someone that doesn't have a lot of technical knowledge?
Yeah, I can definitely dive into that. I think there's kind of two separate ecosystems to talk about when it comes to running your own node. One is like the Bitcoin, Litecoin, transparent cryptocurrency ecosystem, which has very different privacy assurances on-chain and off-chain. And then the Monero, Zano ecosystem that have much better privacy assurances. I already touched on that a little bit of kind of what people can expect as far as privacy goes and the necessity or lack of necessity to run your own node. But the nice thing across the space is that it's getting easier and easier every day to be able to actually run your own node, especially like Bitcoin and Monero now. There are a lot of pre-built node packages where you can either buy hardware that has a special operating system preloaded on it, something like Start9 or Monero Nodo. Or you can, if you have a spare laptop or computer at home, you can install the operating system yourself on top of it, and then it makes it far simpler. Basically, just click a button to install Monero or to install Bitcoin or to install Fulcrum, which is a special type of server you need to sync your wallet with a Bitcoin node. All of that gets really easy in these pre-built packages. I know Zano is not available in those yet. Hopefully that's something that y'all can get done so it's a little bit easier to run a Zano node. But that's the approach that is actually pretty accessible for almost anybody. Really, the pre-built node packages, you just plug it in, you turn it on, you go to a website, and you can just use it from that point on. So it's getting really easy. It can be difficult depending on how complex you want your setup to be, but it's getting pretty easy out there. Now, when it comes to talking about why you would want to run your own node, so like I mentioned before, with Monero and Zano, I would say it's not necessary, but it is beneficial to yourself and to the overall network to run your own node. So even if you don't reveal a lot of information about your transactions to the remote node that you use, like Cake Wallet or like the Zano team's remote node, you do put some trust in that node, especially when it comes to things like telling you what the current fee rate is. And you do, like I mentioned before as well, you do reveal your IP address. So you reveal a little bit of information about yourself. You reveal the transactions that you're sending out, which doesn't reveal details in them, but it does reveal that timestamp when you sent it, the transaction ID. And so it gives a little bit more info than I think a lot of people are comfortable with. So running your own node helps you to protect yourself against any sort of malicious attack or logging in the node ecosystem, but it also just helps to support the broader network. So when we talk about Bitcoin, Monero, Zano, all of these, they're all blockchains that require people running nodes to actually provide the blockchain to new nodes and to connect and talk to each other about what transactions they expect to be in blocks, don't expect to be in blocks. And so when you actually run a node, you actually help to strengthen the network as a legitimate user and a legitimate node. You make it harder for malicious nodes to attack the network, and you make it easier for new nodes, people spinning up their own nodes, to actually get bootstrapped and get connected to the network itself. So it's a dual benefit to you and to the broader network of that cryptocurrency that you're running a node for. But it can be a little complex. Like I said, Zano, I would say, is pretty complex right now, but hopefully y'all can make it a little bit easier. And then Bitcoin Monero can be very straightforward, but you can also go very complex if you want to.
Thanks for clarifying that. And can you tell me a bit more about the Zano functionalities in Cake Wallet and the benefits of having Zano on Cake?
Yeah, definitely. So we just launched the Zano integration with v4.23, which launched last week. It's been really cool to see the uptake and the interest in it. The overall functionality of Zano, I mean, for anyone who's used Monero itself, it's going to be a very similar user experience. The synchronization is a little bit different than Bitcoin because you're not revealing that information about yourself. But very easy to send and receive. We have one swap provider right now for people who want to swap back and forth between Zano, but we're already working with multiple other providers to add Zano as well. So hopefully we'll get some better liquidity and better rates as we continue to get Zano listed on more swap providers moving forward. But the real unique thing that you can do within Cake Wallet that we were excited to launch is be able to use confidential assets directly in the app. So you can really easily open your Zano wallet. There's a little settings button at the top center that you can hit, and then you can add any confidential assets that you want. You'll need that token address that someone will have to give you, or that you can find. I think there's some sites that have those listed, but you'll need that asset address to add. But once you actually paste that, we pull all of the details of that token, any logo that we'll be pulling soon as well, and it lets you be able to actually manage those assets and then receive directly. I know, like Vic tweeted earlier today that he was sending Cake Token, which is just a fun, valueless token that we created to get people comfortable with confidential assets. He was sending that to people. So I think that that's still open if you want to play around with confidential assets. That's a pretty good way to do so. But I'd say that's probably the most exciting Zano-specific feature there. But we also have, just like I was mentioning, the ability to add your own custom node if you want to run a Zano node. And then all of the ecosystem of Cake, things like swaps, like I mentioned, things like Cake Pay, buying gift cards, which you can't do in the app directly yet, like I said, but that'll be very soon. You can also just click out to the Cake Pay website and buy them in there directly.
Thanks. And my final question is slightly broader. I would love to hear your take on privacy and the privacy ecosystem overall. And I assume you've been within the privacy domain for a long time. So how do you think it has evolved over the years? But also, do you think that it's gaining popularity, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, since I've been in the space, the amount of people realizing the need for privacy tools and actually acting on that realization has just absolutely skyrocketed. I mean, the space is so different than it was 6-7 years ago when I started to first become more active in privacy circles. And that's awesome to see. I think a lot of times it can kind of feel like no one cares about privacy, and there's the common tropes that get run around about I'm not doing anything bad, I have nothing to hide. But in reality, everyone cares about privacy, and more people are waking up every day to the understanding that the system we're in right now is totally broken and is taking advantage of our lack of privacy, but that there are amazing tools out there that give us the agency that we need to take back control of our data and take back control of our identity, take back control of our privacy. So it's been really cool to see that growth and to see that it's not some dying, tiny niche thing, but that it's rapidly becoming mainstream for people to care about privacy. I mean, I think even just the example, you can take it with a grain of salt, of course, but the example of Apple heavily marketing the privacy of the Apple ecosystem, sometimes legitimately private, sometimes not, but the fact that they care enough to spend millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on ads that are privacy centric, that are exclusively talking about privacy, should tell you how much the average person is caring about privacy now. So I definitely am excited, and it's been awesome to see the growth alongside more people coming into the ecosystem and realizing the need for privacy and starting to use these tools. Just seeing how much easier everything is to use now than it used to be. I mean, how far Tor browser has come, how far Signal has come, new tools like Simplex, how far Monero user interfaces and user experience has come since I first got into this space. It's really wild how much easier it is to take that first step into privacy now than it was even 5 or 6 years ago. So definitely encouraging and thankful that people are waking up, and thankful that people are building good tools that make it far easier to actually take that first step.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I really like your take.
We gotta make privacy sexy again, man.
Make privacy sexy again. I like that. Quinton, while I have you on the mic, can you also tell me about the ongoing integration, and particularly the one that we have with Bitcoin.com?
Yeah. I mean, let's get to it in a little bit. I just wanted to chat a little bit more with Seth about Cake Wallet, because I think there's more to cover here, and maybe also some community members have some questions for us or for Cake. So yeah, I just wanted to invite the people listening here, if you have some questions for either Cake team or for us, please drop them in the Zano chats. It can be the Matrix server, it can be the Telegram, or it can be the Discord. Me and Gonzalo will try to keep an eye on all of them, just the general chats. You can also request to be a speaker, by the way. I see we've Monero Nakamoto requested to speak. Maybe I can let him on, see what he has to say. Monero Nakamoto, can you hear us? Looks like he's still a listener. Oh well. Well, anyway, I also have a question in the meantime, while people can drop their questions. I'm curious about Zano aliases. Like, I know that because I played around with it a little bit last week, that if I import my Zano seed phrase to Cake Wallet, then since I have a alias register to this wallet, I can simply just, send Zano or any confidential assets to this alias and, receive Zano and confidential assets there. Same goes for when I send a transaction out to someone's alias from Cake Wallet. That also works beautifully, so that's great. It's just that the alias doesn't show yet, or you can't register one. Is this something that Cake Wallet plans to add later on, or just curious about that one?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we want to add later on. A big internal focus for a change in approach is trying to get away from using cryptocurrency addresses almost entirely and shift to the idea of contacts and usernames. Thankfully, Monero and Zano both make that really easy. I love the idea of Zano aliases. I haven't actually played with them yet, so I'll out myself there that I haven't used them myself to actually see what it's like to register one outside of Cake. But like you mentioned, you can't do that in Cake. You can send and receive to aliases. We've had a feature in Cake for a long time where we use multiple different lookup services, with Zano aliases being obviously the newest addition there, to let you just enter a person's username or alias and have it automatically resolve the correct address. It makes sending just not only way easier, but also far more relational, which I think is a necessary shift in the cryptocurrency space generally, to get closer to a Cash App or Venmo style look and further away from this idea of complicated long strings of characters that terrify people. So Zano aliases will be a great fit there, and so it's definitely something that we're looking at. I'm not sure timeline or anything like that off the top of my head, but definitely something that I'd like to see us have in Cake as we add other alias functionality directly in Cake as well.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, no timeline is totally fine. I'm just glad to hear that you guys are willing to introduce those, new features to Cake Wallet for Zano as well. That's really awesome. Especially because some months, no timeline here either, but we'll launch Zano alias auction platform where people can not only bid on premium, like for now they're called premium aliases because you can only register aliases with 6 characters and up. But soon you will also be able to buy, for example, 2, 3, 4, 5 character aliases, which are obviously more rare. But we just plan to basically auction these on a website, on an app, and then the money raised goes back to development or marketing purposes. So that's really cool. You can get short ones like @123 or @Seth. You would be able to register. Would be happy to manually register that one for you already, by the way. But stuff like that, and people will also be able to buy and sell their own aliases on this platform, so that there's some kind of marketplace around it where you can, trade aliases with each other, because they're essentially NFTs on the blockchain. Although this doesn't really come to mind for people directly, but essentially this is what they are, because they are non-fungible tokens connected to your blockchain address. So yeah, that would be cool if people could manage these in Cake Wallet and stuff. And so far, man, I've been just sending it back and forth a bit and adding some confidential assets, the flat coin, the bandits, the cake, and it all just works beautifully. So yeah, very excited for that, and I think the entire community is very happy and grateful to Cake Wallet that you guys added us, because it's just yeah, I mean, I think we can honestly say that it's the first mobile wallet that supports Zano that is, you know, really intuitive and user friendly. So it's great to see, man. Okay. In the meantime, do you have we received some questions, or? I see we have some speaker requests. Oh, actually, speaker request was Gonzalo. I think he somehow lost connection.
Haven't.
Oh, we lost Gonzalo again, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Gonzalo had a question as well for the Cake guys, but he has some connectivity issues, it looks like. He requested once more proof. Gonzalo, are you here? Yes, we can hear you. Welcome back.
Yeah, we're actually looking into alternatives. So, you know, it's pretty likely that the next one will be on StreamYard. So, you know, that's going to be way nicer.
Yeah, we should professionalize, man.
Yeah.
Way better. I mean,
Yeah.
Twitter Spaces is cool. Like, you can connect with other people on Twitter, but it's not the most
Yeah, but
user-friendly.
if it doesn't work, then yeah. Anyways, no, I don't have a question yet. I'm still looking. But yeah, anyone is free to jump up. I think Monero Toshi already jumped. So if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask away. Monero what? There we go.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to. My bad. Aloha, everyone. Aloha, Seth. Congratulations on your success, Zano, and integrations. Amazing stuff.
Thank you, man. All good.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks. Yeah, but yeah, I'm just really happy about Cake. Like, I'm just simply using Zano more now. Like, especially like the multiple receiver function. Because until now, this was only available on our command line wallet. So, you know, having an interface for that is just like really good. Especially useful for events and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, hey, I haven't seen any questions in the chat, so I guess we talked about most of the things. Seth, is there anything that you would like to add?
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Check.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Phone freaked out a little bit and I lost my Bluetooth audio. No, I don't think I have anything else crazy. Just excited to see what people do with Zano with confidential assets. Curious to get people's feedback if they haven't tried Cake Wallet yet with Zano, and we'll definitely keep improving it as we do with all of our cryptocurrencies. So yeah, thank you all for having me on.
Thanks, mate. Actually, one more question I have. Do you happen to have an insight in the number of like registered self-custody wallets for like Zano on Cake, or is this a number that you guys don't have access to?
Nope, we don't have any. Nope, we don't have any access into that kind of information. Since we take privacy so seriously, we don't have any analytics or anything like that. So
yeah,
fortunately,
fair enough.
I can't. Yeah, I can't
maybe
that.
Maybe like node usage, I guess. But yeah, it's not much.
Yeah. I mean, we could see like connections per second, but even then, there wouldn't be a way for us to know how many wallets that is outside of some app I'm guessing. But yeah, I mean, we could get some very rough statistics that way.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, I was just curious about the adoption there, but yeah, I mean, it completely makes sense from a privacy perspective.
There could be some numbers in terms of number of connections to the server, but I guess this information also is not tracked in any way.
Yeah, no, right now intentionally we don't do any logging like that, and I disable any logging that's possible within our infrastructure as well. So again, it would be, I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, they're running on Linux. I could certainly get the connections per second without getting any more granular detail. But it would be a very rough estimate. But if it's something y'all really want, I could potentially grab that and let y'all know.
All right.
All right. I think that was pretty much it, right? Yeah, I think real fun starts with also in regards to Cake Wallet when we have some confidential assets built on Zano with like proper use case. So, for example, confidential layer when that launches, and our own days Karma, which is the gold-backed privacy stablecoin. I know that Vic was playing around a bit and looking into some options of making a confidential asset that was a bit more serious than the current Cake one. So who knows what kind of assets people will launch on Zano, and it will be really interesting to hold these on Cake Wallet and perhaps even be able to swap them internally if these confidential assets have decent swap providers and liquidity, of course. But yeah, let's see where we're at like a year from here. And I want to thank Seth for joining us on this spaces, and excited to work with the entire Cake team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I wanted to. Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just wanted to say thank you to the whole Cake Wallet team for integrating us, and for Vic as well. And we just really great. Just really happy to be part of Cake Wallet, and all this work that had been done in the recent months by Cake Wallet is much appreciated. Thanks a lot.
I also wanted to ask Seth, doesn't have much to do with Cake, but I just wanted to know your opinion. Like, what do you think about privacy stablecoins? Like, do you think like they'll catch some usage, like maybe push more on privacy? Like maybe it's going to make it easier for people to actually try privacy coins? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, no pressure, just want to know your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's been tried quite a few times with a lot of tremendous failures, unfortunately, to do a privacy-preserving stablecoin, which is sad because I think there is a lot of there would be a lot of benefit to having one, but I think it's very hard to say what type of adoption we could expect. I think the reality is that the vast majority of users of stablecoins do not have a direct pressure on them to have privacy for those specific transactions, and a lot of stablecoins are being used peer-to-peer anyways, and not necessarily on exchanges with KYC info, that sort of thing. So I think there's a little bit less natural pressure on those users, but obviously if there were no drawback and the user experience was the same as like using Tether on Tron, for instance, I think there could be a lot of interest. And I mean, I think it would be a net good for society to be able to have privacy-preserving stablecoins, especially ones that couldn't be censored. But there is also a lot of regulatory reasons why I'm not sure that would happen, at least in a decentralized and censorship-resistant way, because of the way that stablecoins work as far as how they're actually backed. But it's definitely something that I would love to see. It's just tricky to do without introducing some trust at some stage, especially because the vast majority of people using stablecoins are not technical, privacy-minded people. They're people who just have a desperate need for something that's better than their own currency and that's easy to use. So ultimately, I think a lot of it would just come down to, can you get the user experience of this privacy-preserving stablecoin and the acceptance of this privacy-preserving stablecoin to be as good or better than something like Tether or USDC, then you're going to have a lot of adoption. If you can't, unfortunately, I think it's not going to go anywhere very quickly, but it would still be a really compelling option.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think having more options will be great.
Just before we finish off, because we nearly did, I see that there's a guy that requested to be a speaker. So let's give him an opportunity to be on stage. Qubit, are you here? You hear us? Hello, Qubit?
Sorry, I was talking, but I realized my mic was actually off. I did jump out for like 5 minutes, so just ignore me if you've already covered this. But me personally, I'm quite new to this whole Zano idea, and I was just wondering, you know, if it has any sort of like unique selling points as opposed to like Monero, for example. I know you covered a few bits just earlier on, but I was just wondering if there was anything more specific.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to cover that for you. We haven't done it really in this space. I mean, I would point you towards intro.zano.org if you're new to Zano entirely. It's like has like this small explainer video that is just 3 minutes long that explains you the very basic idea of the project. And also at the bottom, there's this introduction guide that is like 12 pages long that explains you a bit more into detail all that Zano has to offer. But in short, I would say Zano differs to Monero. That was your question, right? Mainly because of the hybrid proof of work, proof of stake consensus algorithm. So our blockchain alternates between proof of work and proof of stake blocks, not just 100% pure proof of work. And the unique selling point would be confidential assets, because on Zano, Zano is completely, it's like CryptoNode based, just like Monero. Same technologies there that we're using, but Zano allows users to create their own privacy tokens on top of Zano. So these can be used for tokenizing things, but also like, creating synthetic assets of, existing popular assets, for example, BTC or ETH, and like upgrading them with Zano's privacy, or creating and releasing privacy stablecoins, and anything you can think of with tokens, like for example on Ethereum. Although it must be said here that there's no smart contracts involved, so you're a bit more limited to what you can do. You can just set a current supply, a max supply, and only the issuer can emit more until that max supply is reached. Add some metadata, set a ticker, a name for your asset. But just with these basic properties, you can do a lot already, and we're looking into adding more properties to the confidential assets. So who knows what we might extend them to in the future. So that's really cool. We also have a bunch of other things, ionic swaps, aliases. All the transaction fees on Zano are being burned. So the more Zano is used, the more Zano is being burned as well. We can do this because we have no halvings, so the blockchain is always secured just from the block rewards. This is just a broad overview, man. If you have more questions, you can also reach out to me in DM or in the groups. Links.zano.org will cover you and send, just show you all the links of the community.
I also wanted to add that Zano and Monero are not really like competitors. Monero is laser focused in being digital cash, and Zano is more of a platform for confidential assets and private decentralized applications.
So essentially, you're just creating sort of like a privately transacted NFTs and things like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things you can do.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. I think we can wrap it up then, right? Anyone here that wanted to add something? I think we've talked long enough anyway, over an hour already.
There's a question. So William is asking, does the cake wallet integration include the ability to send one to many? For example, I have 1,000 tokens and I want to send 10 to 100 alias addresses. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it does have the multiple receiver function, but I'm not sure what's the limit there. Seth, if you could jump in.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely supports it. Do y'all have a limit on output count in Zano? In Monero, there's a limit of 16 outputs. I'm not sure if y'all have the same or anything similar.
Yeah, I think we have a outputs limit. It's probably 32 or about around 30. Val, if you're here, you can correct me. Probably Val is not here. Something similar. Also, we have a limitation about payment ID. So if integrated addresses use it, you cannot use actually multiple destinations. So it's only if it's just how to say it, I don't know, traditional Zano address, if I can say it this way, just a regular Zano address.
Yeah.
But if it's integrated address, it's going to be only one. But in terms
And
of
it works.
numbers,
Yeah, that's same.
Yeah.
And it works with aliases, right? So it can be like 10 aliases.
Yeah. should work.
Yeah. So it should. I haven't tested more than like 4 or 5, but it should go up to the output limit they all have with the integrated address restriction, as mentioned. Same thing applies for Monero. So definitely test it out, especially with more than 16, just to make sure that we don't have any artificial limit from our Monero integration. But it should go up to the output limit that Zano has. You could do aliases or standard addresses. Totally fine. That can be token. That can be Zano itself. So yeah, definitely works. That's a nice functionality.
Great.
All right. Yeah, let's wrap it up then. I just have one more thing to announce here at the end. Bitcoin.com team has letting us know that they will also integrate Zano very soon. They said before the end of the month. So very exciting. Just wanted to drop that here as like a latest exclusive news kind of thing. So yeah. Apart from that, thank you everyone for attending today's Inside the Zanoverse episode. I think it was a great one. Seen some new faces, shared some new information. Thank you to the entire team for being here, and in special to the Cake Wallet guys, Seth, for being here with us and chatting about Cake Wallet. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me. It's a great time.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a great day wherever you may be, evening, morning, night, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.